Okay, well, we are in a new setting. Those of you that have seen the windows before know that it's time for me to just kind of sit here and talk to you guys about something. And well, if you didn't read the title, you didn't look at the thumbnail, you just blindly clicked on the video. I assume most of you, or if not all of you, did not do that. But we're going to be talking about all things University of Michigan, sign stealing, the NCAA, even the FBI is starting to get involved in this as well. There is a ton of things happening here. Is it bad? Is it not as bad as it seems? What's really going on? I'm going to give you kind of my personal opinion. First, I'm going to relay the facts, obviously, but then I'm going to kind of give you my personal opinion of everything and do more so of a like tailgate Nate style breakdown. So we're going to talk about this here, but first I got to tell you guys who I am. What's up, tailgaters? You are in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. Welcome to my channel. We discuss everything college football here on this channel. Obviously, this is a really big storyline in college football, so I have to talk about it. But normally I do things like top 25 videos, weekly takeaways, game predictions. Sorry, just hit my mic, and more things like that. So if you want to see content like that, hey, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell so you know when videos get uploaded. However, there are more ways than that to help me support this channel. You're doing one of them right now simply just by watching the video. Even clicking on the video helps me, but you can also like, comment, share, and anything else you guys feel you are willing and or able to do that again you would like to do to help support the channel. Hey, whatever you guys feel is necessary, go ahead and do it. I appreciate all the support that I can get. But let's dive on in here to what is actually happening with the Michigan football program. So it came out that Michigan may be stealing some signs here. They may be stealing some signs, which in itself, sign stealing is an interesting thing in the world of sports, right? So, obviously, the most infamous or famous, depending on which point of view you look at it, the most infamous or famous sign stealing scandal went back to the 2017 or 2018, I forget the year, but it went back to the Houston Astros banging on the trash can whenever an off speed pitch got down and signaled. And well, they won a World Series. They did it because they had a camera in the outfield that would relay signs from the catcher to the dugout, and then the dugout would bang on the trash can, and then boom, home run, right? That's pretty much how that ended up going. That was a whole big thing. There were a lot of guys that got in a lot of trouble, a lot of careers ruined, a lot of careers tainted, and people still, at this point, still have not gotten over that fact, and it's a whole big joke now, right? Michigan's kind of being accused of the same thing in a way. So they're being accused of violating NCAA bylaw 11. Hold on. I want to make sure I get this right. Bylaw 11.6.1. It's the in-person scouting rule. So what you have to understand is per NCAA bylaws, stealing signs is not illegal here. And obviously in college, you have the big little cardboard sheets that you hang up or whatever they're made of, but you have the big sheets that you hang up that have the 4 different symbols on it, maybe 3 different symbols, or you do the hand baseball signals where you like twist your hat or like hit your elbow, and that means a run to the left. Look, if you're a coach on an opposing sideline and you see them hold up the picture or you see them hold up the card that has the picture of, I don't know, the green transformer on it, and you know that means to run to the right, good for you. Like that's what basically, like, good for you. Like, you've picked up on that, you can use that to help your team. What's illegal as per this bylaw is in-person scouting rules said to be broken of, quote, off-campus in-person scouting of future opponents in the same season is prohibited by 11.6.1.1 and 11.6.1.2. And into this as well, Jim Harbaugh may indirectly or directly be violating NCAA bylaw 11.1.1.1, which is the responsibility of a head coach to report infractions or anything else sketchy that have been going on within the football program. I'm not too sure of what Harbaugh's come out and said about it, other than the fact that, like, hey, I didn't really know that this was happening, because obviously that's what every single coach is going to say. They're going to try to deflect as much as possible and focus on the football season. Now, albeit Michigan has looked like one of the very best football teams this year, I have them number 1. A lot of other people have them number 1. Everyone has them at the very minimum top 2. Really, really good team, and they've played some good football this year. This is kind of tainting some of the success that they've had in the past, at least to some. So what has actually occurred here? Well, it all directs back to one name, and that's Connor Stalions. He started to volunteer at the Michigan program in 2015, and while he was still at the Marine Corps. He was a 2017 graduate of the Naval Academy, started to volunteer as an assistant in 2015. He did that all the way through 2022. And then in May of this past calendar year, they hired Connor Stalions to what position? I am not too sure. But they hired him and they paid him $55,000 per year. So obviously has a pretty big role within this program. And now his name is really being tainted. He is the guy that is kind of, to a lot of people, at the helm of this whole sign stealing thing. He bought a ton of tickets to future games. In fact, I think it was 30 games to 17 different opponents, not all of them Big Ten opponents, to kind of scout the opposing sideline. And he did it in a way that was illegal because, again, he used technology and used his iPhone camera to field the sidelines. Now, obviously, people are going to have cameras out at a game to like take pictures or take videos. It's just what people do. No one's going to have their phone up for 3 hours recording the entire sideline. And that's exactly what Connor Stalions appears to have done. He has also went and sent payments to people via PayPal and Venmo. There have been some tweets and some things linked that have come out of that to where he has sent payments to someone about these hand signals and about what things mean. And obviously the most infamous clip to come from this is last year's game against Ohio State in the Horseshoe, where CJ Stroud and the entire Ohio State offense looks over to the Buckeye sideline to check the play. Of course, the camera view shows Michigan sideline in the pass. As soon as CJ Stroud gets the play call, you see Connor Stalions say something, and then the entire Michigan sideline points up, signaling, hey, it's a pass. We know it's a pass. Some pretty sketchy stuff going on there. Now, granted, that Ohio State play in question did result in a touchdown, so how much it helped them, you can decide there for yourself. Personally, I think it definitely helped them a little bit, although it was not everything to help them win the game. And it sounded like some coaches were aware that they were doing this. You go back and look at the Rutgers-Michigan game of this year. Greg Schiano, during his halftime interview, was kind of just like, there are some things going on here. We're going to focus on the football game. And kind of just sort of left it at that, right? So obviously he knew something was going on, and TCU knew that something was going on because they were so aware of the sign stealing scandal that in the college football playoff game last year, they used dummy signals, which I'll admit, and I think everyone already knows, that happens all the time. Like that is nothing new. Dummy signals are used in every single sport to try to throw your opponent off. Like every single sport does that, especially the likes of football, especially at the collegiate level, baseball especially, and et cetera, right? But yeah, TCU was so aware of this sign stealing scandal, they used dummy signals, and who knows how much it may have helped them in that game against Michigan. How much did it help them? Again, I think that's really for the individual to decide what they believe on that. I believe it had some minimal effect, but again, it's not everything. Well, minimal to pretty substantial effect. However, it is not everything in a football game. It's one thing to know what your opponent's going to run. It's another thing to be able to stop it, and that's just something Michigan could not do against TCU there in that playoff semifinal game. Quick water break. Let me gather some thoughts. All right, and we're back into it. So, yeah, that's kind of what's been going on right now. Michigan's being accused of illegally sign stealing, which now, look, I've heard a lot of people, I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of friends, family, other people about this whole thing, and a lot of them, especially some of the older folks that I've talked to, have said, well, this happens all the time. Why not just legalize it? It doesn't. Okay, it happens a lot, yes. In fact, I'd probably say, and Ohio State defensive coordinator Jim Knowles came out and said that he would estimate around 75% of programs uses some sort of sign stealing to an extent, whether that's just simply looking over at the sideline and saying, oh, that's the purple banana. That means they're going to run a flag route. or whatever, something to that extent, or to like have tape and be able to use tape to be able to determine what signs are going to be. I'll tell you right now, no one does it to the extent at sending someone to a game, buying tickets in your own name to go to a game, or for someone else to go to a game and video the entire sideline. Like, no one does that. In fact, I'd probably say maybe besides Michigan, maybe one other program does it, and they just haven't been caught yet. But no one does it to this extent. That's ludicrous. That's crazy. Yes, there are people that are going to be stealing signs, and it happens a lot, and it's just something you can't prevent. No one does it to this extent. No one is going as far to buy tickets to opponents' games to be able to video an entire sideline. That's ludicrous. That's insane. No one is shelling out money for that. And the reason, too, that this has kind of become a lot bigger of a thing as well is Stalions had 2 tickets to the Ohio State-Penn State game just this past weekend, and no one showed up in the seats. Why? Because you got caught, dude. You got caught. That's exactly what happened. There's an outside firm that began some sort of investigation on this whole thing. And the outside firm alleged that Michigan football had been using a sign stealing operation involving both in-person scouting as well as video recording coaches since last season. And obviously, you know what happened last season. The team went 13-1, second consecutive Big Ten title. Then they lost in the playoff semifinal, yada, yada, yada. The firm presented its evidence to top NCAA officials on October 17th, so that as of recording this video is 10 days ago, and there's just been heaps of information that have been coming out. So now what is going on is the NCAA is at the University of Michigan talking to players, talking to coaches, talking to administrative staff, talking to athletic personnel. Like, they are conducting their own thorough investigation of this, and former Michigan offensive coordinator Matt Weiss is now under FBI investigation. And yeah, he probably had some hand in this whole sign stealing thing and had some hand in creating some NCAA violations. But if the FBI is getting in on it, I don't think I need to say anything more than that. It sounds like some pretty serious stuff. But there are photos going around. There are tweets going around. And there's also this that came out as well. Michigan's sign stealing operation was expected to spend more than $15,000 this season, sending scouts to more than 40 games played by 10 opponents. And here's the interesting thing of what Michigan did last year is Michigan did a thing last year where they didn't just scout teams within the Big Ten Conference. No. They were thorough and they were prepared. They sent people to games in Athens. They sent people to games in Neyland Stadium. They went and they scouted other college football playoff contenders, and I have no shadow of a doubt that they eventually ended up sending someone to TCU as well, the team that they ended up playing against as well. And there's also reports coming out that, hey, maybe there was some intel, or some information that got leaked to send to other sidelines to help prevent certain teams from making the college football playoffs. So you could really throw out any number of things. You could send out like, hey, Michigan sent things to South Carolina so that they could knock out Tennessee and Clemson. You could really accuse whatever you want, although nothing is proven as to who really sent to. There have been a couple of pretty solid ideas because one of the PayPal/Venmo payments he made had the subtext of GA, which obviously, if you know your U.S. geography, you know is the abbreviation for the state of Georgia. And who knows who he sent that to, whether it was a Georgia staffer, whether it was another Michigan staffer, maybe it was clues on Georgia, maybe it was things that Georgia could use to help beat Ohio State in the playoff semifinal. But this is just a whole big mess. And you know what? It gets a whole lot worse for one guy, and that is Connor Stalions, who, to me personally, and no offense to Connor Stalions, if somehow you are watching this video, I mean, dude, first of all, what are you doing? But second of all, I think the guy's got something going on with him, because it also came out that he had a 500 to 600 page Word document on his computer called the Michigan Manifesto on how he was going to take over the program. Connor, dude, what's going on with that? Why? Why? This this dude just seems so obsessive with Michigan football. It's crazy. And maybe Michigan had a thing. Connor proposed this idea, and he was like, "Guys, what if we steal signs to help win games?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure, whatever. Here's $15,000. Go crazy." Like, who knows what happened with that? But I mean, Connor just seems like the kind of guy to be a little bit obsessive. If I'm being perfectly honest here, again, that's just me drawing conclusions. You can take that with a giant grain of salt. That's just kind of my personal opinion on the way that that lands. Now, look, what I think the big thing that's coming out of this is obviously how's this going to affect the college football playoff? How does this affect like Michigan athletics? I hear a lot of people out there saying that Michigan is going to be ran into the ground and Michigan football is done. Michigan football is screwed. This is really, really serious. And there are some other people saying like, well, everyone steals signs. What's the NCAA really going to do? Clean house? Maybe Jim Harbaugh doesn't coach. Doesn't really mean anything for the success of Michigan football in the near future. I've really seen both sides of it. And here's what I personally think. What I'm not going to speak on is the punishment that is coming to Michigan, because I could really see the NCAA going either way with this. Now, we all know, and I've spoke openly about it, especially with the whole Devontae Walker thing and so many other things, yada, yada, yada. The NCAA is just not a great governing body. Nate, what did you do? They're going to come after your YouTube. No, they're not. They don't care about me. I don't need information from the NCAA. I'm getting it off of the Athletic. I'm getting it off of the Washington. Like, I can get the information from other sources. The NCAA does not care about me. But we all know the NCAA is not a great governing body. I mean, come on, let's just say it. The NCAA is very bad at what it tries to do. It just is. It's just the reality of the situation. However, when you take a look at this situation, I don't know what the NCAA is really going to do, because the NCAA is going to form one opinion. I'm going to form a different opinion, and you are going to form your own opinion. And all three of those things are going to have some similarities. However, they are not going to be fully coherent to each other, as in there are going to be some things that maybe I say that don't make sense to you. There are going to be some things that you say that don't make sense to me. And there are going to be some things that both of us say that don't make any sort of sense to whatever the NCAA or whatever other acronym letter organization is going to go over to Michigan football right now. But what I can tell you is the NCAA is going to go in one of two directions. One, they're going to put some sanctions on the program, as in I'm talking like bowl bans, and maybe they get Michigan to clean house. Like, who knows? That's one end of the spectrum. The other end is, well, maybe we made too big of a deal out of this. I mean, let's just suspend Harbaugh for more games, or maybe, you know what, Harbaugh, if you can go back to the NFL, that would be great, and then they'll leave it. Like, I really don't know what the NCAA is going to do here as far as a punishment. I'm going to be very, very curious to see where it goes, and who knows whether a punishment is coming tomorrow, because at the rate things are picking up, it could definitely happen that way, or if a punishment is going to come like 2 years down the line. I don't like the term punishment. Shouldn't have said that. I should have said consequence. If a consequence is going to come tomorrow, or if the consequences are going to come 2 years down the line. Again, I don't know the time frame the NCAA is going to operate in, and I also don't know what the NCAA is going to decide to do. I think that's all going to be very interesting to watch, and my Michigan fans out there, I know how you feel, and there have been so many other people that have spoken on this as well. I'm probably just echoing a lot of words. However, you probably feel like you're cheated. You probably feel like the NCAA is out to get you. You probably feel like after Jim Harbaugh openly spoke on, hey, you know, this is so stupid. What is the NCAA doing with the whole suspension thing at the beginning of this year? Michigan fans and a lot of people around the Michigan program, you probably feel like you're getting fleeced right now. And to that, I say, yeah, that probably is definitely part of the equation. Look, when you mess with the bull, you get the horn. Sorry to be cliche like that, but if you give the NCAA ammunition to go after you, they're going to go after you and they're going to find something. Now, I guarantee you, if the NCAA were to go through every single program with as fine tooth of a comb as they probably did to surface this about the Michigan Wolverines football team, then yeah, you're probably going to find something, whether it's minor or maybe as severe, if not more severe than this, within every single program. From the basic recruiting violation to maybe someone else stealing signs electronically by going to games and recording the entire sideline with your iPhone. It the NCAA had a reason to probably go after Michigan based on the things they were saying and all the slander being thrown the NCAA's way. In that regard, I agree with you. However, this is also a pretty serious situation, right? You can't just sit in the stands and like video the entire sideline to steal signs. You're doing the same thing the Houston Astros did. And I'm one that, like, look, if you figure out signs, if you figure out audible signals, if you figure out the snap count at the slightest of things, like, good for you. That's just going to give you a strategic heads up advantage to be able to go do what every football team wants to do and go beat the other team on the other side of the line of scrimmage. However, I disagree with doing it in the way that Michigan is going about it, which is sending people to games to record the entire sideline to then relay that to the rest of the Michigan program. That is not okay. And you know what? It also probably didn't help that a one Mr. Connor Stalions, who I will bring up yet again, who already had the Michigan Manifesto on his computer and all the normal things that a man would have on his computer, just a 500 to 600 page document of how to take over a football program. We all have that document on our computer, right? I know I do. Obviously you do. Obviously you guys, all of you college football fans out there do as well. But he was openly bragging about it to people. He was openly bragging about it in text. He was openly bragging about it in person. He would just, I kind of picture it this way, and I don't know if this is the way it went down. I don't think we're ever going to know. But I just think it's funny. He's sitting at his buddy at the bar, having a few drinks, and he goes, "Hey, you'll never guess what I did today." "Yeah, that's right. I stole Ohio State signs. Yeah, we're really going to be able to beat them up this Saturday, let me tell you." Like, what are you doing, dude? That's just... Anyway, going off on a tangent here. So the big idea, and this is what I tried to start earlier, but ended up going off on a tangent. Welcome to my life. You're going to have that a lot. But then what do college football teams do to prevent sign stealing? Well, the initial thing they did was hold up the cards, was do the whole hand signal sign. And again, at the very base level, what you do to prevent that is do what TCU did and use dummy signals, use dummy cards, use all of these things, right? But guys, the answer is so much simpler than you would think. When you go to the National Football League and you take a look at how they are able to play call and how they do all of those things, it is through radio in the helmet. The quarterback can hear the play call, and usually you have one or two defensive players that get the play call from the defensive coordinator, and then they relay that to the rest of the defense like, "Hey, we're going to run cover 2," and then they have their own little verbiage and signage of what they're going to run, right? And even if you go down a level from the college realm, high school football does that too. Now, I know they don't do it in every state, and every state doesn't do it at every single level. However, there are a lot of states, especially I'd assume in some of the states where high school football is really big. Texas comes to mind, and some of those other schools that have a lot of really good high school football to be played, but they use it too. They use the microphone in the helmets to be able to relay play signals. And obviously now when you go to baseball, obviously the catcher used to just kind of flash two and in, and he would have all the signs down there working for the pitcher to see. But now they use pitch comm. Now they have something in their hat that they can hear. The catcher has a little thing on his knee pad, presses a couple buttons, and the pitcher hears curveball down, and he throws a curveball down. Like, it is as simple as making things electronic. And I know what people are going to say about that. It professionalizes college football. I don't think it does. And I know that argument can be made about some other things, especially with the NIL and the transfer portal. And that's a conversation for a whole other day. That's a can of worms that I've opened before on the channel, and I'd gladly be able to open it again, but just maybe not now, right? But It's as simple as just putting a microphone right here. It's as simple as literally having something right here that tells you, like, hey, we're going to run flex 42 out of the wire, whatever verbiage teams that want to use. Like, okay, we're going to run 12 personnel. The tight end's going to run, again, whatever verbiage teams want to use, right? So, I mean, it really is that simple of a problem to fix. And will the NCAA do it? Who knows, man? This is the NCAA we are talking about. But that really is the way that you fix this. I really don't see any other way to fully 100% prevent this from happening ever again. Well, maybe not ever again, but prevent this from happening for quite some time, right? It's and look, there's going to be a lot more information that's going to come out about Connor Stalions through the NCAA's own investigation. And who knows if it means that this runs Jim Harbaugh out, or if Jim Harbaugh has to get let go or fired because of all of this. Who knows if Michigan cleans house? And who knows, even this is something that I didn't bring up. Who knows if the NCAA goes through and is like, yeah, sorry guys, we made too big of a deal about this. Something I haven't even mentioned too, the Big Ten is going to have an opinion on it as well. So if the NCAA doesn't provide any sort of sanctions, the Big Ten definitely will. And it seems like it's trending in that direction to where the Big Ten will provide some sort of consequence to the Michigan Wolverine football program. But what of the College Football Playoff Committee, guys? The first rankings come out on Tuesday, on Halloween. The first rankings come out then. Who knows if the College Football Playoff, if no one else does anything, they are looking around the room at like, so no one's going to do any, that's okay. We'll just like put them at 5. They're not going to make the College Football Playoff. Like, who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? The NCAA, what are they going to do? Who knows? The Big Ten, what are they going to do? Who knows? There are so many different directions that a consequence or repercussions can come in. It's crazy. But this sign stealing thing at its base, I think is pretty serious. And I think the notion that like everybody does it, it's not unique to Michigan. Everyone does it, but everyone doesn't have a budget to go buy tickets to opponents' games to have someone, whether it's Connor Stalions or someone else, film the opponent's sideline to be able to get signs. Like, that is just, no one does that. Like, of course, people steal signs, and I'm sitting here and telling you that, like, yeah, coaches are aware that, like, teams steal signs, and coaches are aware that teams can look over at your sideline when you hold up the sign that has Scooby-Doo on it, and that means that your best wide receiver is going to run a post route. Like, people do that, and people know those things. People pick up on those things. People are going to try to get whatever competitive advantage they can. No one is sending people to games to video the entire sideline for 3 hours. That's not happening. That is not happening. And that is why this certain scenario and this certain situation is so serious and is being so heavily looked upon by the NCAA. Now, you can take whatever I've said today and in the past half an hour here, as we've almost reached that mark, with a big grain of salt, with a tiny grain of salt. Like, everyone's going to have their own different opinions on this matter. What I can tell you is what I can tell you is happening is Michigan, one way or another, is going to be in some pretty big trouble. And who knows how big of trouble that really is? Who knows what sort of consequences? Who knows if there are any sort of sanctions? Like, again, who knows? I really have no idea what sort of punishment are going to be coming here. People are theorizing that maybe both the program and Jim Harbaugh could be facing sanctions, like vacation of wins, maybe taking away some of the Big Ten titles, and the Big Ten could also sanction Michigan for violating the sportsmanship policy, which the program can be fined like $10,000, which to Michigan is a drop in the bucket of revenue that they generate. They can suspend anyone that's involved for like 2 to 3 games. They can suggest more severe, like, look, there are so many different directions that a consequence or anything can go, and the whole timeline of this NCAA investigation going on is unclear. we could be getting into next college football season, and then something comes out, and it's like, oh, hey, here's the punishment, right? Like, we have no idea if, again, we're going to hear something tomorrow or years down the line about what actually is going on here. But nonetheless, Michigan being accused of sign stealing. I'm going to be very curious to follow this story. I think you guys should too. However, I'm not going to get too wrapped up in it, right? This is the one video that I did want to make to kind of discuss things that have been going on and kind of what I think. However, moving forward, we're going to get back to normal college football content. And this kind of took the place of the weekly predictions that I was going to record today. That just didn't have time to get graphics done for, so I'll save you the trouble. I think UCLA is going to beat Colorado, and I think Oregon State's going to go on the road in a very tight game and pull off a win against the Arizona Wildcats. So those are the two videos that were supposed to go up today. But I was happy to sit down and talk about this. I really wanted to sit down and talk about this. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Well, there goes the phone. Any other thoughts that you guys have? Any things that I may have glazed over? Any things I may have missed? Any other information? And again, feel free to share your opinion of everything down in the comment section down below. We'll definitely see where this goes. I'm not rooting for or against any side here. I know you see what jersey is right here, and I know you see the logo that's right here. Look, let me make myself clear. I am not rooting against Michigan here, and I personally myself am not even sitting back with my feet up and just kind of like, let's watch Michigan football burn. No, I'm not doing that. I'm going to be very, very curious to see what happens with the NCAA investigation, to see what sort of consequences come about. And honestly, I hope for the best for Michigan football. I hope maybe this isn't as severe as some people are making it out to be. Although the way everything is trending, it seems like there are going to be some pretty serious things that are going to be hammering down on Michigan within relatively the near future. But again, we'll wait and we'll see everything that is going on here. There's going to be a lot more information that's going to come out. If anything super significant comes out, you'll probably see it over on my community tab. I don't anticipate making another video about this. However, I'm not going to go on full record and say that I'm done talking about it, right? So this is going to be something that every college football fan is going to want to follow, at least somewhat closely, because I think it's a very interesting scenario, and it branches off into a ton of very, 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 very interesting conversations to be had throughout the sports world. And I know I've gone off on a tangent here trying to outro this video. So I'm done now. We'll see what happens going down the line. Hey, make sure you guys subscribe, like, comment, do anything you can to help support the channel. Again, if there's anything I glossed over, you want to share your opinion on it, again, by all means, whether you're a Michigan fan, a college football fan, leave it in the comment section down below. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. And again, remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. Enjoy your college football weekend. A lot of big games coming up. And I'll see all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.